Early in the morning, early in the morning, early in the morning.
What's going on, the people that miss you? Your boy Cam Topical Juice, and I'm back with a friend and a fellow content creator, Dr. Sohon, aka a psych for sore minds. Welcome back to the channel, my bro. I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on. Let the people them know, man. Introduce yourself again for them.
Thank you so much, Cameron. It's always a pleasure to hook up you with you, my man. So my name's Sohon. I'm a consultant forensic psychiatrist. So I assess and rehabilitate people who've committed fairly serious offences, who've got mental illnesses, schizophrenia, etc. I do that for a living, and I'm a fledgling YouTube content creator as well.
He does all that, so you don't have to. Yeah, come on. Come on, you know the vibes. You know,
it sounds cooler when you say it. I don't know.
No, I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. So, guys, today, yeah, obviously, as you guys know, I'm very, very hot at the moment on Love Island content, and I'm actually very, very grateful for when it finishes, so I can get my evenings back. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's very, very difficult doing these videos every single day. But earlier in the week, I thought I would message Sohon himself and basically invite him onto the channel to talk about not just Love Island, but I suppose reality TV as a whole and the impact that has on mental health. As you guys know, Jax, or as my Love Island viewers know, Jax left the villa. We've had suicides from people, from ex-Love Islanders, but it's not even just Love Islanders, it's other people on reality TV as well, Jeremy Kyle. So clearly there is I'm not going to say a problem with reality TV, but there is an underlying issue that once you do enter this kind of sphere, you are exposed to, you know, a wider audience, criticism, everything. And obviously, clearly that has an impact on our mental. So I thought, you know what, let me invite Dr. Sohon on for a medical professional, you know, analysis of kind of what this could mean, where it comes from, things like that. So yeah, let's get into this video, guys. Like the video for me, hit the bell to be notified for me. Of course, you know the vibes, press the bell, like button, subscribe button, all of that. And if you want to support your boys' merchandise, it's in the description below. Let me start by asking you this. I mean, I know the answer to this anyway, but for the audience, guys, so Dr. Sohon, have you watched Love Island before?
I'll be honest with you, I've never seen an episode of Love Island.
Okay.
I suppose generally I'm not into reality TV that much. And from, you know, obviously I know bits about it. I've heard about the suicides, etc.
Yep.
And it just seems to be good looking, muscly people. And I don't know if I don't think that'll entertain me personally.
Am I not on that?
But you know, you said it yourself, there've been a couple of suicides, there's people leaving the show for mental health issues, so I am kind of intrigued about it as a psychiatrist. Even though I might not necessarily enjoy the content, I am intrigued about the kind of mystique behind it and what we're going to get into and how it affects your mental health. So let me ask you this: do you watch it purely because you make content on it, or you actually find it, you know, like enticing and entertaining?
So I watched the earlier seasons. And if you were ever going to start a reality TV, I would always say go back to those early seasons. It was a lot more raw. It was a lot more kind of unedited. It was a lot less scripted. For example, they don't show smoking anymore in the new kind of most recent series. Back in the day, even though I don't smoke, the smoking area was like an area for kind of drama, conversation. And because we're living in a PC society now, they don't even show things like that. So it's gotten a lot more soft. So back in the day, I enjoyed it for what it was, the content. However, these days, I never watched last season or the season before because I just thought I'm disillusioned with it now. It's the same crap. It's very shaped and this, that, and the other. But this season, I decided to watch it because I wanted to create content on it. But I'm not going to lie to you, it's amazing this season. I'm not going to lie to you. It's actually really interesting. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand it's trash TV and people judge it and I'd rather kill myself than watch this. But at the end of the day, in this depressing, moody UK and everyone's sad and this, that, and the other, don't judge me because I want to spend 1 hour a day of trash TV making myself feel better. Do you understand? Like, why not? In a dark world that we live in, I want to lose myself in a bunch of trash for an hour a night. It's fine. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a bit of both. It's content at the moment, but I'm not going to lie to you, I do enjoy this season. But yeah, I mean, that, I suppose, leads us on nicely to, I suppose, the mental health aspects of reality TV and the pressures of being thrust in the limelight. Now, obviously, I'm not too sure if you've dealt with anyone. I know it's a criminal, you obviously deal with criminals, but I'm not too sure if you've dealt with anyone who's kind of in the limelight and stuff, or, you know, whatever celebrity status. But what's your thoughts then on being essentially a nobody in this kind of society, and then all of a sudden, everyone, nan, their dog, they know who you are, and you go down Tesco and you can't. How does that impact our psyche?
So I think, to answer that, we first have to look at the kind of people that will go to be participants in Love Island, because I think that's crucial, right? Again, I haven't watched episodes, but I can see from like screenshots on TV and bits and pieces that I've seen on YouTube, these aren't your average typical person, right? They're all pretty good looking. I think it's fair to say they're fairly narcissistic, right? A lot of them are either wannabe models or wannabe TV stars, or I believe some of them actually have or had modeling contracts before they even started. So already we've got people that are quite sort of full of themselves, probably quite entitled. And also to be that ripped, you have to, that's part of your identity, right? It's not just some people that just did a few press ups and turned up to an audition, got in. These people are committed to being models, to having six packs. So going to the gym is part of who they are. And I think the reason I'm mentioning all of this is, as well as being narcissistic, I imagine they probably have quite fragile egos behind it all. Because if the main part of you is being good looking, and then if you're humiliated in any way, or if you're rejected in any way on public TV, then that's going to be more soul crushing than for an average person. And you'll have to advise me if what I'm saying is right, but from what I heard near the beginning, you get these women that stand in a line, and then the men come out, and then some women step forward and step back if they fancy him.
Exactly that. So that's the usual, that until this season, that's what it always been. This time was the first season that the public actually matched people together. But so traditionally, you're spot on. The women would stand there, the men would come out, and they would either step forward or stand still. So you can imagine when no one steps forward, it knocks the confidence a little bit.
So does that happen with instances when nobody steps forward?
Many. And straight away we feel bad for them. But usually those people end up being quite popular just because they might be the friend or the shoulder to cry on for a lot of people. But 100%. And I've always wanted to see, I would never go on it, but I've always wanted to see how many people would step forward for your boy Cameron?
So I think already there's a setup where it can be quite humiliating, right? And then you've got audience votes, and that must affect people as well. Plus the other thing I'd say is that if the baseline of everybody that goes on there, all the participants, is already fairly egotistical, probably fairly attention seeking, I'm generalizing here, but I'm talking about your average kind of participant, then you've got to go that extra mile to get the attention of the viewers and of the producers. You can't just really sit around and do nothing, because the camera's not going to focus on you, the conversation's not going to be on you. So you're already narcissistic, you already got a fragile ego, then you're set into this kind of, I don't know if it's it is a fake environment, but sort of an environment that's set up for you to potentially either embarrass yourself or do something that's attention seeking. So all of these things happen, and then to go back to your original question, it ends fairly quickly. Am I right in thinking they get voted off? So they have very little time to process.
They can get voted off today. They can literally find out that the audience has been voting. You're in the bottom two, and 5 minutes later you're dumped out. So out of nowhere, it can spring on you 100%.
So I imagine for some people they probably go into the most and thinking, this can build my career, I can be a celebrity, I could possibly win this thing. And they think that all along, and then bam, they're kind of out of there in a very short period of time. So they're already probably quite sort of crushed, quite disillusioned. And then you're out in the public, and for many people, their fame has built overnight, hasn't it? It's just all of a sudden.
Exactly that.
So you've been spent years trying to get famous, trying to look good, trying to be a model, and then bam, you're just like public property overnight. So, and what comes with being public property is criticism and probably judgment. And I think it's probably fair to say that a lot of people who watch Love Island are probably a little bit jealous to a degree, maybe not overtly jealous all the time for everybody, but there must be a bit of spite and jealousy there. So if the contestant is good looking but has said something that makes them look bad or comes across as a bit kind of up themselves, I imagine they must be just fodder for being insulted on social media.
There is a lot you get. It's the average. Let's not say the average. There is a pocket of Love Island viewers that are extremely toxic and will send death threats to people and this, that, and the other. But for me, I take it for what it is. It's a damn show, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm smart enough to understand that it's very shaped and produced. You know, we're only seeing 45 minutes of a day 45 minutes of a 24-hour day. You know what I'm saying? And really and truly, if we actually dissect that further, that's not 45 minutes of each individual person. It could be 2-3 minutes of that person of an entire day. So I take it for what it is, but you do get a lot of people out there who will, again, due to probably their insecurities themselves, seeing all these good looking people on the screen, they just fling hate at them. And again, it's very childish, to be honest, very immature. And just screams insecurity, to be honest. I'm securing myself. I don't need to make myself feel better by bringing these Love Island people down. I ain't even gonna know who I am. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I suppose the other thing is that, how old are the participants? Are they sort of early to mid-20s? Is that typical?
Exactly. So the youngest one on this season is 19. She's probably the most popular, funny enough, because ironically, she's actually one of the most mature. So big up Gemma for being mature and being the youngest on there. The oldest one on there at the moment, I believe, is 28 or 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have had, it does range in age groups. But yeah, the average I'd say is about 23, 24, something like that.
So that's still pretty young, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're grown adults, but at the same time, I don't think you fully formed your personality and certainly your confidence. You might look good and feel good topless on a beach, but the average person in their early to mid 20s probably not that confident in their own personality yet, I'd say.
It is interesting because, you know, they go in, as I said, as nobodies, and they come out as these kind of overnight superstars. And it's funny because a lot of them aren't actually built for it. So when we actually look and analyze the characteristics that these people have, as you say, probably some small narcissism in there, big ego, rah, and they think they know what they want. But I think when they're actually under the spotlight and being scrutinized, your appearance, an action you've done, your personality, all of a sudden it highlights their insecurities, because they're really and truly, they're not actually secure. Their insecurity is probably what drove them to want to be famous. So, you know, things like that. So I think that must weigh heavily on their mind, but not just that. It's the need and urge to remain relevant. So a lot of people in this kind of reality TV sphere, your fame is overnight, but also your fall off is overnight. So when people when they start to detect that they're not really being as famous or as relevant, e.g. probably their engagement on their Instagram's gone down or things like that, they need to regain that kind of popularity and things like that. And when they don't get that, I think they really start to lose themselves. Now, I'll be honest, I don't actually know all the details around it, but I believe that was probably the examples around Mike Thalassitis. I think I pronounced his name right, also, aka Muggy Mike. That's what he was known as on the show. And I actually knew him, not well, but I was on a TV program with him back in 2018. Really? So I met him, you know, I spent time with him, and I was gobsmacked when I heard the news, because I didn't think he would do something like that. Basically, he came across as very kind of confident. Well, people call him Muggy Mike. He almost came across as arrogant, cocky, you know. And so when I heard the news that it was, you know, self-inflicted, I think he was hanging. I'm not too sure. Again, I don't want to, forgive me if I've got the information wrong, but I believe it was that. I was shocked. And I believe it was the same thing. I think there was some money. I think there was some financial issues. You know how they come out of Love Island, all these reality TV, the money's fast, the attention's fast. Do they have the knowledge to be able to save properly or whatever, not blow it all fast? And I think he got himself into financial debt. He was no longer as relevant as much. And all of a sudden it weighs on you. So it's mad.
Yeah, I think the other thing that kind of adds to everything that you said is how quickly it happens, right? Because if you look at a lot of level of fame, there are exceptions. You get like some sports stars that just, you know, talented from 18, 19 that rocket up in terms of fame. But mostly speaking, think of like, I don't know, models, journalists, actors. They do, you know, you see them in one thing on TV, then you see them in a film, then you see them in a film, and gradually learn their name, and their fame kind of builds gradually over the space of maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years. That versus literally going in as a nobody, a wannabe celebrity, but not nobody knowing you, and then you come out and you feel like you're omnipotent, that everybody knows you. Somebody that young, you don't have a chance to acclimatize, basically. So you get all of this fame, and you said yourself, you get all of this money without, it hasn't happened incrementally, so you're not used to knowing how to deal with it. So I think that's one aspect. And the other thing I'd say is that it's non-reversible. So everyone thinks they want it, because if you're a bit narcissistic, you know, if you're good looking, you got a six-pack, you want everyone's attention until you don't, and then you come out. And especially if you didn't come across that well on the show and you get these snarky comments, you get your online hate, you can't turn it off. You know, that is irreversible. And you might think that it might last the rest of your life. So you might be in your mid-20s and think, fuck, people are going to be staring at me down the street for the next 20 years. And at least half of them, maybe more, are going to be whispering horrible things about me under my breath. That's a lot to take on, man. Like, you can see how that would just suddenly warp your view of the future and your pessimism.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more, to be honest. And I think the interesting thing for me, when it comes to reality TV, mental health, is the reaction of the public, because the public are so fickle, my friend. They're so fickle, and they have short-term memory loss, I swear, because a lot of them will really, in one breath, they'll push this agenda of be kind, be kind. Now that, I don't know if you know where that came from, but that kind of stemmed from Caroline Flack. She said we should be kind to people. The sad truth is she ended up taking her own life as well. So off the back of that, there's kind of like a movement of be kind. Now, but I say the reason it frustrates me is because the same people who in one breath are saying be kind will literally the very next season, or even the same season, the next episode, be tweeting all this bullshit, cussing out so-and-so for dodgy nose, dodgy hair, crooked smile, whatever. And you're thinking, So what is this be kind? Is you basically the audience pick and choose who they really want to be kind to. And that's, for me, is the frustration here. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. People need to be held accountable for their actions. If you are moving mad in the villa and being rude and bullying people, whatever, then you deserve to be kind of scrutinized for that. But I think it's, for me, just be consistent. You know, be consistent. Don't be, if you're going to cuss people out, cuss everyone out. If you're going to be kind to one person, be kind to all, innit? Do you know what I'm saying?
People love stating their opinions on social media, don't they? Because they're so protected by the distance, not just in the distance in like physical space and the anonymity, but also when they write their comments, the receiver of the comments might not be for hours, might even be days later. So they feel quite far removed, which makes people be fucking nasty, basically. We were talking about trolling, basically, aren't we?
Exactly that. And the thing is, like, for example, for me, over the years, I've had trolls in my comment section for whatever. It could be race related, whatever it is. Not one person in my life has ever come up to me on badness or rudeness. The only I get stopped quite frequently. It's very, very humbling. I love it. I really, really love it. And every single time it's love. Every single time it's, oh, Topical Juice, I watch your stuff. I'm a fan. I think this, you that, rah, rah, you're the realist. Damn right. All this stuff, this, that, and the other. And not one person, not one. I can't, as in not one has ever come up about, oh yeah, you said this about me, or you said this about so and so, or you told me to suck my mum in the comment section. Like, what you bro, not one's brave enough. And I'm not trying to invite no pressure, but I think they know. I think people are smart enough to know not to test, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't come on some smoke, because you know what I'm saying, you'll get laid out like a sick dog. You know what I'm saying? It's one of them ones there. But what's your, so basically, I'd like to know your kind of advice or your opinion on this, because ITV have obviously come under immense scrutiny over the years for their lack of post-island support. Now, they claim that they regularly make contact and stay in contact with the islanders. They have kind of like, I think they have free therapy for maybe for X amount of time. I'm not too sure. But all I know is ITV say one thing, every single islander that comes out says something different. So I don't believe the support afterwards is of an adequate standard. So what do you think TV companies, production companies can do to ensure that these people that are thrusted into this immediate fame, they know how to deal with it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I'd split that into two parts. I'd split that into the process of getting people in as participants.
Okay.
And then the process of the aftercare, looking at them afterwards. I don't care what ITV or any producer says. If you want to make good TV, there has to be a bit of conflict and there has to be tension. So you do not want the dullest participants. You don't want the most mentally sort of stable and the most mentally mature, because it would be boring. I've not watched Love Island, but I used to be into The Apprentice. And when that first started, it was full of very serious businessmen.
Very serious.
It was dull because they all agreed, because they all had decent strategies. And, you know, it was about who was the most intelligent. Nobody wants to watch that. And then they very quickly realized people want the arguments, they want the drama, they want the beef. So I'm not picking on ITV specifically, especially because I've been on there recently, but any TV producer is clever enough to know that we need to pick people that are on the cusp. So they're a little bit unhinged, and unhinged is probably unfair, but they're definitely emotional. They're emotional people that react emotionally. So I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that it's a two-way process. It has to be about making sure that they're emotional, but still stable enough to take the pressure. And I have to say, it's quite a hard thing to do, because you don't really know what somebody's really going to react like, because it's not a natural situation. There's not going to be any other situation these people coming in at the age of 20, mid-20s have ever been in that's anywhere near as similar as the pressure and the fame that's going to happen to them. So it's actually quite, even if ITV or the producers did a good job, it's actually quite hard to know. So I'll be specific. So it's part of my, even though I work with offenders now, when I was a junior doctor, part of my role was assessing people post-suicide, right? So we call it risk assessment. So typically somebody would come in after a suicide attempt, trying to hang themselves or taking paracetamol overdose. And the essence of my job was to decide if they're safe to go home. Most of the time they were. Occasionally they weren't, and they'd have to be sectioned against their will to a psychiatric hospital. And essentially you have to really drill down on their thought processes. So, do they have any thoughts of suicide? Obviously they do if they've ended up here. Has anything changed? Can they guarantee their own safety? Can they see a future? Are they pessimistic? So it's quite a complicated, quite a hard task. And that is with people who clearly have suicidal tendencies. So I would argue it's even harder to try and try and predict that for people that come in as participants to Love Island. But that's the first thing you have to do if you don't want any kind of risk of people hurting themselves. You've got to do that really thoroughly. And then after they leave Love Island, you offer them therapy. I mean, I think that's the right thing to do, absolutely. But the person has to want to engage in therapy, and not everyone does. And, you know, I can imagine if you're kind of a bit bombarded with fame and you've got mixed emotions about Love Island, I don't know if you'd want to be in touch with some random therapist that you don't know. So I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that there's a limit to how much you can do. And the person themselves wants, in all therapy, not just in fame, or in suicidal ideation, in all therapy, the individual has to want to engage and has to sort of, you know, want input from a stranger for it to work.
It makes sense. So also you have to want it. As far as like a TV production point of view, I think, I suppose the only thing you can do really is make sure that they actually have access to therapy, I suppose, isn't it? Make sure they have access to it. It's funny because as much as I believe they have an accountability to ensure the safety of Islanders post Villa or whatever, as you say, there is only so much one can really do. You know, no one's psychic. How do we know what people how people are going to deal with fame? Now, for example, I'm not famous. I've never wanted to be famous. Is what it is. But I think obviously the bigger I get on YouTube, fame or whatever, fame will come with that. However, I am adamant I will deal with that kind of well. And the main reason for that is because I don't give a fuck about what people think in it. I just don't care. I just don't care. Like, as in, you can try and cancel me, you can try and do this. I don't care. Like, I know my worth. I know my morals. I know my kindness, my empathy. Like, you can't try and shut man down on, you know what I'm saying? I know my worth, and I don't think my audience, for example, would even believe whatever someone's trying to cancel me on. But that being said, I don't know that level of fame. You know, me getting stopped once a day, once every 2 days or whatever. And I'm still beaming from ear to ear when that happens. But, you know, if it happens, I'm going to the shop, I'm walking my dog, I'm just trying to eat a food and that. Maybe, would I crack? Who knows? But I firmly believe I've been through way worse things in life than damn fame. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, you never know. And you know, for example, let me give you a little quick example. I was on a reality TV show back in 2018, and I got taken to the final and stuff. You know, I was a part of it or whatever. You know, part of it. When I came out, my cameo wasn't massive long. I wasn't big. I wasn't famous. Whatever. But when I came out, obviously the show was quite hot. So like, I must have gone to a local bar or a local club or whatever, and everyone in this place, oh, is that so-and-so from, all right, is that so-and-so from, all right? And I would hear comments, you know, most of the time it's good. Couple cheeky people, not beef, but a couple people be like, oh, where's so-and-so? Or, and I was thinking, I don't really like this. You know, I was embracing it and I felt a bit gassed, you know, that I was baiting the spot or whatever, but I didn't really like the kind of, everyone suddenly thinks because they know you, they're maybe entitled to maybe vocalize their opinion to you because you've been on a public platform or something. I'm not too sure. So it was interesting, my experience on reality TV. But don't get me wrong, bro. I'll be honest with you. Me again, this proves the point. Actually, I don't care what people think. I got in the first episode. I got kind of slandered on Twitter a little bit. I can tell you all about reality TV. The way they're so shaped and the power of the producers is immense. Honestly, it's crazy. So like the way they shaped me, the narrator of the show was calling me, he kind of coined the term cocky cam. So like, you can imagine, so I was here, honestly, I was on Twitter, me and my friends were on Twitter laughing, we were creasing, people were sending me, rah, rah, but obviously some people will read these comments and it will hurt them, you know, that it will destroy their self-esteem. For me, I didn't give a shit. So for me, I was watching tweets like, someone was like, someone get this cam boy a mirror so he can wank himself off or something like that. Or so he can.
Actually, that was me that said that. So.
Oh yeah, I recognize it, man. And then another one, because I think I had hair on a little bit of hair on my belly. I think I'm not massively hairy, but I had some hair on my belly. And I saw some next tweet saying, oh, why does Cam's pubes go up to all his belly or something like this? And I'm crying of laughter. This is funny to me because I don't care. These are literally these are insignificant, insecure people who are loud enough, who are loud behind the screen. So I mean I care about that, you know. So, but obviously,
the other thing I would say, right, is that. Right, so I'm in my 40s, right? You're in your 30s?
No. Do I look in my 30s? No,
I thought you told me that.
I'm 27.
27. Apologies, man. I thought you told me in a previous.
Nah.
So, all right. So actually, I suppose you're not that far removed from the age of the average contestant, right?
Definitely.
But the point I was going to make is that I didn't grow up around social media. Like it wasn't a thing when I was a teenager. So I use it a little bit. Actually, I pay somebody else to do it for me because I've got a YouTube channel. But I started before my YouTube channel. I almost never used it. But the point I'm trying to make is that my identity isn't online. if I'd grown up with it, and if all my friends and, you know, when I was at school, if everyone else was, then absolutely I would have done those things, clearly. But it wasn't online. So if that is part of your identity, if you're a narcissist, if you're a typical Love Island participant, then receiving those nasty tweets will be really hard to brush off like you're able to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So because some people care, and exactly the kind of person that goes to Love Island really care about how many followers they got, about the comments they get, because they've grown up with it and their friends are the same, and you know it is part of their identity, I guess.
It is social media in today's day and age, and you're going to get to know this as well being on your YouTube channel and access of people you can get. The higher, you know, when you're 100, 200,000 deep, you're going to get more people that are want to come on your channel or whatever. And that's because, unfortunately, in this world, social media is currency these days. You know, how many followers you've got is a social currency. I'm in the generation where it was the middle ground. I grew up with you know, not as much technology, but then also as I'm getting older, the technology boom type thing. So I remember cassettes, and you know, I remember cassettes going into CDs, which would go into MP3 players, which went into whatever. I remember the timeline, you know, all that stuff. And even just little things like, I was reminiscing with my friends the other day about sweet shops, and you know, you don't see sweet shops no more, and glass jars and all that stuff. So, but the younger generation, you know, 23, 22, 21, they really understand the kind of importance, or it's not importance, but the online importance of followers and things like that. And it really impacts them. Like, for example, there's a girl on there on this season's Love Island called Tash, and she was in the bottom 3 consecutively, I think. Was it consecutively or at least 3 times in the season? And you could see it was really damaging her self-esteem, because even though she should have been happy that she had met you know, a boyfriend on there, or she was crying and crying and crying, because she was thinking, why? She even said it out loud, why don't the public like me? What's going on? So people really do care about these things. And I always said in my YouTube channel, if I was on there and I was in the bottom 3, the way my ego is and the way my mentality works is, I would say, cool, it ain't me. It must be how I'm being portrayed. It has to be the production. It has to be the camera angles. It must be the footage, because I'm not a bad person. I'm not a rude person. So how am I being voted into the bottom 3 X amount of times? That doesn't make sense. But a lot of these people, they're maybe not intelligent enough, I suppose, to understand.
I'd say, I'd use a slightly different. I agree with your sentiment. I'd use probably a slightly different phrase. I'd say emotionally mature, not enough.
Emotionally
so there might
mature,
be.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And again, that comes with age, and it comes with their natural characteristics as well. Like, you know, I'm 43 now. I think when I was 23, I was probably definitely a lot more full of myself. I think I would have struggled a lot more with rejection back then. But when you get older, you just, you know, like, you don't need people's approval, because you've already got your solid set of friends and you've already had your, you know, partying experiences. You don't need validation, is the word I'm looking for. You don't need validation as much.
That's true. It's true. Just from your wife and kids. That's all that matters now, isn't it? That's all that matters. Yeah. Have you got anything that you wanted to bring up about mental health and, you know, reality TV or anything?
Just one thing, which is about Caroline Flack herself, because I think forget, you know, her. She's at the heart of this all. So having done my research, I think the producers knew that she was, I think she was picked on purpose. And I think that apart from, you know, being a good presenter and really being empathetic, she actually had like relationship problems herself. And she was really struggling. And I read somewhere today that she was engaged at the beginning of one of the series, and then she wasn't at the end of it. So obviously, you know, she's had turmoil in the background. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think it was a bit calculated by the producers to pick her, but then you can't have predicted that it would, you know, that she would take a life. But I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that none of it's by accident, right? It's all kind of by design, I think.
Exactly. I completely agree. And sorry to interrupt, but with Caroline Flack, it's a mad one, because it's great that you brought up the fact that she was having kind of partner issues, is because that was a big part of the downfall. I believe her partner, I think what did she do? She got accused of like hitting him or something.
That's right. Yeah. The police came around and there was like blood on a bed and stuff like that. Yeah.
There was basically some sort of domestic issue, and she was going to go to court, etc. And off the back of that personal issue, domestic issue, she was flooded with trolls, hate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and that was what kind of pushed her over the edge. Admittedly, I believe she had mental issues anyway.
Plus, she had a previous suicide attempt a long time ago in the 90s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I read that today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. So there you go. Oh, so exactly. So she got there's a paper trail of mental kind of instability there. Yeah, no, it was sad. That one shocked me. I'm not gonna lie. I remember doing a video on it at the time, because I had my YouTube channel, and I was just like, how did we get here? You know, first it was Sophie Graydon. I think that was one of the first ones. I think that was the first person from Love Island to unfortunately take their life. Then it was Mike, who actually I believe was rumored to even had relations at a point with Caroline. Then it was Caroline. Clearly, there is some issue with this industry. Clearly, there is an issue, or there is a mounting pressure on us mentally when you become famous overnight. It's crazy. That's what people always ask me, bro. People always ask me, "Oh, Cam, you should go on Love Island. You should go on." I'm like, fuck that. I ain't trying to go on that, because there's a difference between having 500,000. If you got 200,000 on YouTube, you can still walk down the street and not one person know who you are, because it's still a select kind of audience. But Love Island, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter. Your mum knows you. Your nan knows you. The 13-year-old knows you. A 50-year-old knows you. It's you really are. And I would never want to get typecast as, oh, you're the person from Love Island. No. I had 750 videos on YouTube before that. I'm the guy from YouTube that went on Love Island. You know what I'm saying? And don't box me into this. I'm a musician. I like rap. I like acting. So don't box me into this shit about, oh yeah, I'm Love Island, rah.
Plus the other thing is that fame doesn't exist in a bubble. So when you have somebody who's become famous overnight, it doesn't just affect them, it affects everyone around them as well. So, you know, they might feel a bit embarrassed by it, or they might want to distance themselves, but it could be, you know, people literally outside their houses, when they're out with their family, at restaurants, in the pub, people not just making comments to them, but being surrounded by their loved ones as well. So they kind of inadvertently are putting some of this pressure and some of this kind of unwanted attention onto the people close to them as well.
How do you deal, or I mean, that's assuming you've ever had trolls or something like that, but how do you deal with, obviously, as you said, you weren't on social media, now you're on social media, you're now exposed to these people's opinions that might think they know more than you, a doctor. So what type of comments have you got in the past? And then, you know, how do you then deal with them?
I think you're gonna love my answer to this. So I definitely do have trolls. Not a lot, actually, to be fair, and probably 90% of the comments are quite positive, 10% are quite aggressively nasty. I stay away from people that I think are crazy, because you can tell sometimes by the tone of some of the messages that I'm just literally not interacting with that person at all. But for that soft spot where they're kind of a little bit nasty but not mental, I re-troll the trolls. So of course. I put loads of sarcastic comments within on my YouTube comments. And some of my friends, I was at a wedding just a few weeks ago, one of my friends said, look, man, your videos are okay, I enjoy them, but I love your comments to the trolls. That's the reason he watches them. So like, I'll give you an example off the top of my head. So somebody said something like, what was it? So I was dissing to the Dr. Grande. I think I've told you about it before. So something like, you should look in the mirror and ask yourself why you're so jealous of Dr. Grande. And my reply was something like, I tried it, I didn't get any answers. I just got a handsome man in the mirror asking me questions. I just put like really silly, annoying, but not aggressive, but just silly comments. And I love doing that because it amuses me. And like you, I've got a thick skin. I probably didn't have the same attitude in my 20s. I have to say, in my early 20s especially, I probably would have been quite affected by it. But now I'm too old to care whether random people that I'll never meet hate me or not. So I try and squeeze a little bit of humor out of it.
You have to. I'm the same as you, bro. But me, you said you're not that aggressive. Me, I can't lie. Some of them, I'm loading the clip and I am completely emptying, because obviously it can never get through to me, and it has never hurts my feelings. For me, it's like, okay, cool. If you are a troll, you are insecure, you are beta. You have to make me feel as bad as I've clearly made you feel in a video. So I know they're weak. I know if I'm here, they're in hell. They're way below me, you know what I'm saying? But I have to make them feel this small. I have to challenge their IQ. I have to challenge everything. I love it. It fuels me knowing that I'm clapping back and making you feel absolutely insignificant, inferior, beta to a man like me. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoy it, and I really do enjoy it. But yeah, before we wrap this up, I want to hear what you've got coming up, because I've been, obviously, since I've came across you, or since we met for the first time or whatever, or electronically, virtually, I've been, I'm tuned into all your videos. I was really enjoying the one on Leeds. I watched the girls in Leeds. I was watching the Epstein one, Bojo, the Boris one. You uploaded a new Dr. Grande one. I never even knew who that was until the first time we met. We spoke on our meeting. I never actually knew who that was until you spoke about him last time. So I think I watched that one as well. But obviously you messaged me saying that you were going to be on our TV and stuff. So what's going on with that?
Yeah.
Hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, because they said they called me before then. They haven't done. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of muscle my way in as a kind of TV expert. I don't know, like, I find the whole thing I'm a bit skeptical about everything, to be honest with you. Like, I want to do it, and I was on this morning last week, and that went really well, really enjoyed it.
Indeed.
But I also, with even in a week, I've had 2 producers tell me that they'll probably have me on. So one for actually, I'm not going to say the names of the show, so in case they get them. And then they didn't sort of follow up on that. And I'm kind of getting used to the fact that the industry's like that. So I am trying to weasel my way in, but I think it's just really hard. I think there's loads of people that want to do it, and so I'm going to have to take everything with a pinch of salt. But yeah, so my plan is to keep making YouTube videos, try and use my expertise to kind of constantly promote myself and weasel my way in to be like a media commentator, basically.
No, definitely. And I would love to get into that space, you know, especially as like you were nearly on there to talk about Tim Westwood, for example. Like, as in, obviously, not to take away from all your knowledge, of all the people that need to be shouting for Tim Westwood, it's gotta be me. Yeah, it's gotta be me. I've got a personal beef with this guy. Like, he's taken down 6 of my videos. He removed our video. He removed your video. Like, he's not wasting no time. He's a prick, and I would love to get my virtual hands on him. But honestly, there's things in the pipeline where I'm staying on this guy's neck, man. Honestly, there's things in the pipeline. Until he's in the ground, my foot's going to be on his neck. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for that. But yeah, what else
you got going on your channel? What are your plans?
For me, is obviously make sure I've got Love Island finished. But I'll be honest with you, bro. And it's funny actually, because an email has just popped up while we've been on Zoom. And I believe it is something very, very exciting. Just to answer your question, is the space I'm trying to get into, bro, is obviously 1, doing more collaborations, but 2 is actually getting people on, e.g. yourself, for example, when you've got time, physically in like a podcast type setting. So I've had a dream, or not a dream, I've had kind of an ambition of having like something called Couch Chronicles. And, you know, I get people on my show in every creative field, yourself, actors, models, singers, whoever, and we just talk. You know, it's not necessarily an interview, but it's a discussion. You know, I love talking about what their interests are, blah, blah, blah. So that's the space I'm trying to get into, collaborations and kind of interviews. And so before on the train at home, literally just before I came onto this video with you, I flung out a few emails to some Love Islanders and ex-Love Islanders and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And basically one of the ones from this season's show has just popped up, saying she's down to come onto the damn channel, you know. Let me not even talk too much to say who it is. But this person has literally just emailed saying she'd be happy to come on while I'm on a video to you. So that would really be amazing for this channel. Obviously, I'm smiling a lot now because that email's just come through. I need to be reaching out to these social media influencers, personalities, or whatever, and that will help grow the channel, because last year's shadow ban, it really hurt me, to be fair. It really, really hurt. I think 6 months of no growth, if anything, going backwards off the back of a damn vaccine video. Like, come on, do me a favor. It's proper frustrating, this damn society we live in. But I'm excited for the future, man. I'm very, very excited for the future. So you will have to let me know, bro. You will have to let me know when you've got some time, maybe next month or whatever, to actually come sit down with me on in a podcast type setting, and we'll really get into a nitty gritty discussion about crime and criminality and this and that. And, you know, I need to get on Sean Atwood's thing, for example. Like, I would love to shout Sean. I don't know Sean, I've got no connection to Sean, but I'd love to jump on his thing. I'd love to maybe shout him so he can come on my thing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the plan of action. Because as much as I love the sound of my voice and my own videos and this, that, and the other, I feel like I need to expand and really get into this collaboration sphere, because, yeah, we can all eat.
Cool, man.
We really can.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming up, man. I enjoy your videos. Big fan of your channel. So yeah, good, congratulations on getting that Love Island contestant on. That'd be great. I'll look out for that one.
I appreciate it. But I'll be honest with you, I'm very observing your growth, man. And I think I even said to you, I think when you even emailed me, I think you were about 22 maybe, and I think you had just done your 15,000 the month prior. But every single time I go on your channel, it's 26,000, it's 27,000. So you're really enjoying a lot of growth at the moment. You should really maintain a consistency, because the iron's hot right now. So you definitely be striking it. You know what I'm saying? So,
cool, man. I appreciate the love.
No, of course, man. We'll wrap up here anyway, guys. So thank you so much, Dr. Sohon, a Psych for Soul Minds. I appreciate you. Honestly, I really do appreciate you making time to come on. I know you're a busy man. Yeah, if there's anything you want to plug away right now, literally plug it all. In fact, your Instagram will be in the description. I'm sure I think it's Psych for Soul Minds, not a psych in it. I think it's Psych for Soul Minds on Instagram, is it?
Honestly, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot you don't even use it stuff. Yeah.
I get someone else to do it.
I think it's called Mary.
I'd never been on Instagram once before I started my YouTube channel, and I barely understand it. Remember, I'm in my 40s. I barely understand how it works. The only thing that I actively do is answer to trolls on my YouTube channel. That's the only social media that I actually do myself. But yeah, so my channel is Psych for Soul Mind. So yeah, but you big it up far better than I do. So it is just like a crossover between mental illness and offending, try to look at high profile cases and shit like that. It's a little bit Yeah, I sprinkle a little bit of comedy. It's a bit funny. It's a bit surreal. I don't take it all too seriously. It's all kind of related to my work as well.
Of course, man. But no, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Mr. Das, Dr. Das. And yeah, we can wrap it up here. So like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you lot at the next video. Well, a video whenever I drop this. I'm sure there'll be Love Island going on the same time I drop this. So I'll see you tonight. You lot. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Peace.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Peace,
yeah.
man.